Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, arming teachers. Also, the V-Team takes a look at Steve Marshall's dastardly deeds. And should the people of Alabama be paying Robert Bentley's legal bills?
No! 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 No!
No! No! No! No! No! No! No! No! No! No!
Nah, I agree with them. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V-Team. Welcome on.
How you doing?
Good to see you, Jack. I love that tie.
Thanks. There are no more payments on this tie because I've had it like 25 years.
It's completely
Literally
paid off. That's always a good thing. Takes a while, a quarter a year. All kidding aside, it's been a rather slow news week, but the truth is there's some important issues that have been raised. And one, Charlie, is, we reported on that the state was still paying Governor Robert Bentley's legal bills, and they've mounted to over $300,000 the taxpayers are on the hook for. Well, after we reported that, Governor Ivey was quoted as saying, it's not a problem because it's legal. It's we have to do it. It's legal. Then Walt Maddox, who's running against her as a Democrat, came out and said, no, it's not. You don't have to do it, and you don't have an obligation to do it. I mean, we're paying for Bentley, disgraced governor's legal fees.
Because people seem to keep forgetting that Judge Griffin ruled on basically Bentley's smear campaign against Spencer Collier and said that everything he did in that was completely outside the scope of the governor's role. So therefore, Kay Ivey, we don't have to cover that. We don't cover that under the law.
And Susan, just the fact that we have the John Nyman, Harvard-educated lawyer representing Bentley, law firm of Maynard Cooper Gale, all kinds, hired guns, big guns. I mean, it just seems a little ridiculous that we're still paying for this whole fool's mess.
Yeah, and you don't have to have the highest guns in the land. And plus, Nyman's wanting to take this all the way to the mat, as most good attorneys do. But there comes a time when, just settle it and be done with it. Everybody is tired. Every time we bring this subject up, people get angry again because we're paying for Bentley's, as she said, the things that he did that weren't even a part of his office. We're still paying for it when it should be him paying for his attorney to take care of those issues.
Jack, usually, we have an insurance fund that pays for these types of legal cases, that pays when they have to settle. Why is it that the Ivey administration doesn't want to settle this lawsuit?
I don't know what their motivation is, and I ordinarily would not. Spencer Collier was fired by Bentley, and he filed a wrongful termination suit. I think in the normal course of things, that would be fine for the state to pay Bentley's legal fees. But where he screwed up was denying and terminating Spencer Collier's insurance the day he was fired. Now, normally you have a COBRA, don't you? That
you do.
Is an 18-month protection if you lose your job. He wasn't even afforded that, so I hope it comes out of Bentley's own pocket. I'm all for no more state aid to his defense fund.
Because he made this a personal vendetta.
He did.
He completely did.
And I generally have supported Bentley on most things. The whole girl thing, girlfriend, I don't really care. But what he did to Spencer, it's okay to fire him if that's what you want to do. You serve at his pleasure. But then you don't gut him once you fire him.
And then he used the government agencies to be able to proffer information to try to smear him with too, which is also
Well, that's
illegal.
part. This is what Judge Griffin has ruled on. He can fire him. There's we're a right to fire state, but what he can't do, or at least it appears he can't do, is smear him. It's not the governor's job to smear someone in the press, to lie about them in the press, and to have people go around saying they committed criminal acts. I mean, that's just not in the job description.
Especially when there was no basis for that to start with. When any of these smears came back, there were no grounds for him to smear Spencer on anything they said they found.
And look, there are no heroes in the Bentley tale. There are no heroes. Because everybody knew something, nobody said anything, but there are no heroes there, and now we're still having to clean up mess. I just don't understand why Governor Kay Ivey, and especially you look at Steve Pelham, the guy is smart. Why do they want us to keep talking about it? I mean, there's been at least 6 articles online and in print over the last 2 weeks. Not just us.
My question is this: if we've indeed entered into the area where it is no longer what was part of his office, we've entered into the personal part of this. What's stopping the Governor Ivey from saying, okay, now Nyman's bill, if you want to continue with him as your attorney, Nyman's bill's on your watch, so you can pay for Nyman now that we've moved away from the mantle of your office.
They can actually do that. They can do that, and they can settle it. I want to move on, though, because Betsy DeVos, is it DeVos or DeVos? DeVos, the Secretary of Education, said this week that schools can use federal dollars under the Every Student Succeeds Act. Right. They can use federal dollars to put 9mm or AK-47s or AR-15s in the hands of teachers or staff. And some people think that's a good idea, Jack, and some people don't.
Well, I don't think anyone, Bill, and I'm surprised that you would think that they're going to give her an AK or any teacher an AK-47.
Well, I don't know why. If you got to take everybody out in the room, that's the way to do it.
I'm very ambivalent on this arming teachers business. I know Waynesworth was big for it, and Kay, I kind of think pulled back from it a little bit. I don't know. I'm not in favor. I'm in favor of like a resource officer at every school that walks the school, the whole time he or she is on duty, who's armed with mace or stun gun or even a gun with bullets.
No AK-47.
No, I don't think that's a very sharp idea.
And the thing is that there are any number of retired military, retired police officers that would volunteer to do that, but we're not addressing it as that kind of solution. We're doing it in a radical situation that gets people riled up.
Charlie, you're a product of the Montgomery Public School System. What do you think?
I am, and I've seen firsthand that money that she's saying should go to that should definitely be used for something like, I don't know, guidance counselors, or something to get to the root of the problem, because we see that school shooters, not always, but have been disgruntled students in the past. So instead of fighting fire with fire, why not help that child out of the situation he's currently in so he doesn't feel the need to shoot up the school and kill his peers? So.
Well,
good old liberal view,
Well,
no, that's what I'm here for.
No doubt.
Well, I was just thinking that, I can just see a scenario down the road. Of course, it's sort of like the terrorism attacks in Alabama. We don't get them. But I can see I've run out of time. So let's leave it right there. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back with more news and opinion.
You'll never guess what 400,000 people in the U.S. were using when they crashed their cars last year. No, not this. This. Distracted driving will kill you. Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Hey, I'm Rick.
And I'm Bubba from the Rick and Bubba Show. And if you know anything about us, you know we like to have fun.
However, there's one thing that's no laughing matter. We believe that everyone should be registered to vote, and they should have a qualified government-issued photo ID.
In order to have your voice heard and your vote counted, you must be registered to vote and have a photo ID.
Join Bubba and me and register to vote, and let's work together to make Alabama all it can be.
When it comes to fighting for the district, we can count on Tom Watley. From the War on Terror to Montgomery, Tom fought for our values. Tom delivered critical road funding to keep our infrastructure growing. Tom listened to parents to grow early childhood education. And Tom reformed taxes, keeping a promise to never raise taxes on working families. Tom Watley listens, reforms, delivers. Because fighting for our community is what he's done his whole life.
2/3 of drivers who died in car crashes chose to ignore this warning. Seatbelts save lives. Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. Susan, this past week, the ACLU sued Secretary of State John Merrill over blocking people in his Twitter account. Now, the case is there are 3 people that ACLU is representing that he blocked from his Twitter account. He is using his personal account at John Merrill, and what they say is, though, he's disseminating state information from the Secretary of State's office on that account, and therefore he cannot block people because he's denying them their First Amendment freedom of speech.
While I disagree with, because there is a Secretary of State Twitter account that is used to disseminate information, it's not like these people are being completely cut off from the information. However, a judge in a lawsuit against Donald Trump said that indeed he, as president, could not block anybody from any of his Twitter accounts, especially over political reasons or whatever. So that, John Merrill might have a hard time with this.
Well, I mean, the argument here is that both of these are personal accounts. There is a POTUS account and there is a Secretary Merrill's account, Charlie. I mean, so is there not a solution here?
Honestly, and I have an incredible amount of respect for John Merrill, and I really think the entire thing is a little bit unfair. But I do think really the best advice I can recommend is just doing your best to keep business and personal separate, because if he's going to be releasing, political information and important things on his personal page and then turn around and block people from that, she's right, they can go to the business page and get it from there, but at the same time, I can't really argue against that.
Well, and the thing I'm arguing with here too is that, if anybody who knows John Merrill knows that the reason he does it on the Secretary of State's site and on his own personal Twitter account is because he is all about getting the information out to anybody who will listen.
This is a man who will give you his personal cell phone number on Twitter.
Absolutely.
Yes.
He's all about being engaged, being in touch, getting information out in all different venues. But as you know, even with our Facebook account and stuff and Twitter, sometimes we have to block people because they get a little ugly or they want to be mean, and so.
And Jack, these people will say anything on Twitter and Facebook and all these places.
I'm not on it for that very reason.
Yeah.
Whenever I post something pro-Trump on my Facebook, I get savaged by all my Democrat friends, so I stay away from it. But this is John Merrill's personal account.
Yeah.
I don't care what the ACLU, I have no respect for them anyway. I'm probably the only one on this panel, but I can't stand them. And if it were his official Secretary of State Twitter account, I would say, no, John, you can't block people. This is his personal account.
I agree.
While they might kind of intermingle, I still don't think the ACLU has a leg to stand
So
on.
they were denying people their First Amendment rights.
There's a kooky federal court out there that'll say, au contraire, like some of these nuts in California.
Did they say that?
What?
Au contraire. I can't even say it the way you do.
Well, I can't.
Do you speak French?
Yeah.
Of course you do.
Parlez-vous.
Polly, want a cracker?
Parlez-vous français?
Bonjour.
You got me on that
I
one,
hope
Jack.
Danielle's listening to
Yeah,
that.
no kidding. Hey, let's move on real quick. That was pretty good. You got me there. Au contraire. but you did it so much better. Pay to play, Charlie, in Alabama is alive and well. If you want to get ahead in Montgomery, you're going to have to grease the wheels of the politicians, and you're going to have to grease it with cash money, or as my pappy used to say, cash on the barrelhead.
Apparently, shakedowns are the new thing.
Yeah, they
We're
are.
sending out emails to
New
people.
thing.
Oh, maybe not a new thing. Okay, I take that back.
Well, blatant
the
shakedown.
popular thing again.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have emails going out saying, you know, we're watching if you donate or not. So obviously anybody is going to feel obligated to give something if everybody can see if they're giving or not. So it's a pretty shady way to do business.
I mean, Susan, in all honesty, I mean, we know this goes on, but isn't there some world out there where we can say, wait a minute, if you've got to give money to get entree to the government that's elected by the people and supposedly for the people and is paid by the people, but isn't there a point where you go, good gravy, enough's enough? I mean, how do we...
Yeah, well, you know, we've gotten to the point where we say good gravy, enough's enough. How many times now? And it just keeps going on and keeps going on. It's like the cycle that won't stop. But yet they're even more blatant with it now than when they were during the Hubbard era. I mean, we're talking about make sure you reply all in an email so that leadership can see that you are in on giving us $2,500. Or, you know, you might want to consider if you want to be a chairman or not about how much you can raise, you know, for our funds. That's another one that's going around right now. So it's just, I mean, they've gotten more blatant with it.
I guess, Jack, nothing surprises me, but just how blatant it's become. You need to give to get.
I think every invitation that goes out for a fundraiser for a public official in Alabama ought to be run through the AG's office first, not the Ethics Commission, because
Ethics Commission?
it's the biggest joke in the state. But through the Attorney General's office, does this meet the muster that it should?
Yeah.
In other words, does this cross the line? Because, like we know, the invitation that Mac McCutcheon had sent out, and I don't want to name the person that did it, who sent it out and said, you know, basically you'll have better access to the speaker if you give to this PAC.
But are you sure you want to run that through Steve Marshall's office?
There is a white-collar crime division over there.
There is.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
There is.
Well, and there's got to be something, because these things are just, and we hear from lobbyists and folks all the time who go, look, they're just not $100,000 and $1,000-ing us at a time.
Well,
it
goes on in Washington too, you know.
Yeah, it does.
Martha Roby's on appropriations, and I saw somebody showed me during her congressional primary that she was having a fundraiser in Huntsville with the, you know, with the military community.
Sure.
You know, all the big defense contractors for a breakfast that she had. Would that ordinarily happen? Were she not on appropriations?
Right.
No.
You know, the pay to play is one of the big things that's wrong with politics. We only got about 20 seconds. We got to send kudos out to the Energy Institute of Alabama, one of our advertisers, but they had a coalition of 13 groups that sent folks up to North Carolina to look after Hurricane Florence.
Yes, and that's admirable of them. And as a state of Alabama, you know, we're always trying to help our neighbors. And Energy Institute didn't have to do this, but they did. They sent people up there because those people really, really, really need a lot of help.
Salute you, Energy Institute of Alabama, for doing a good job and not getting any pay for it. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back with more news and opinion.
You'll never guess what 400,000 people in the U.S. were using when they crashed their cars last year. No, not this. This. Distracted driving will kill you. Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
The Energy Institute of Alabama is the best source of energy industry information and how it affects households across the state. From convenient energy production to alternative fuels to solar power and beyond.
2/3 of drivers who died in car crashes chose to ignore this warning. Seatbelts save lives. Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Charlie, one of the things that happened earlier this month is a lawsuit went forward in Texas in which 18 attorneys general and 2 governors, all Republicans, are pushing to overturn parts of Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, that have to do with pre-existing conditions. What if this suit prevails, if these people prevail, it will take away the right of people to have health insurance who have a pre-existing condition. There are hundreds of pre-existing conditions. Steve Marshall, the appointed Attorney General of Alabama and the Republican nominee, has joined this suit. And if Marshall is successful, almost 1 million people in Alabama will lose the right to have insurance with pre-existing conditions. This should be disqualifying for those million people.
If there's anything that's really showed Steve Marshall's character up to this point, it's got to be this, because he's doing something that is so detrimental to the people's health of Alabama. It's just about everybody has pre-existing conditions. It's absolutely ridiculous that, and it's someone who used to be an Obama Democrat, by the way. Can't forget that point. So I have a lot to say, but I don't have a lot to say right now because it really flusters me.
Susan, I mean, 74% of Americans say that while they may have problems with Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, 74% of Americans say that the pre-existing portion of that law needs to be kept in place.
It does. I mean, when the Republicans, when Trump took office, they went in and said they're going to gut the Affordable Care Act. They're going to do all these things to it, but then they went in and they found out that they couldn't. And one of the reasons was because of the pre-existing conditions. Now, you got to understand that diabetes is a pre-existing condition. There are numbers of pre-existing conditions that are, a big deal if somebody doesn't get health care. But just to go back and show how two-faced Steve Marshall is. He's on this campaign for the opioids, right? Does he realize when they get treatment for that, that's a pre-existing condition? The addiction to that is a pre-addiction. Can't have it both ways.
Well, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. This is Alabama, right, Jack?
Yeah. I have a pre-existing condition. Other than insanity, I have
I was going to say.
But I'm not a fan of health insurance companies. Period, paragraph. They're all a bunch of greedy. Well, you saw it during the autism debate, right here in Alabama. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was. Claire's not here to say this, but it was egregious.
It was, absolutely.
Way over the top.
And that was only to get them a few more days of treatment in a spectrum of a lifetime. This wasn't talking about a lifetime of treatment. Yeah. We're just talking about a few more days, and that was an awful fight.
Nor am I a fan of Obamacare because you can keep your doctor and your rates won't go up. Two of the biggest lies ever uttered from the Oval Office. So,
and look, we can agree that there's problems. But what the American people, and I think we all can agree upon, is that when people have pre-existing conditions, we have already crossed the bridge to where we need to still make it affordable for them to have health insurance.
I want to add into this so that the listeners understand, too, that a lot of times, and I have been a victim of a pre-existing condition, where I had something small that was minor that had caused me no health problems whatsoever. I was denied all health coverage, not just that related to a pre-existing condition, so they can get back down that road again, and that wasn't that many years ago.
And I hope that this doesn't happen. One of the things that, Charlie, I saw that was very unusual, not this portion is not unusual, the American Medical Association, of course, the Academy of Family Physicians, a host of child and adolescent psychiatrists, all of these groups filed an amicus brief with the court saying to the Texas federal court, please do not overturn this portion of Obamacare. Leave
and
it
you'd think
in place.
if you have that many organizations of that high a standing saying, don't do this, this is going to be bad, you'd think somebody would listen.
Yeah, well, and I thought that was pretty good too. We went back and looked. The Alabama Hospital Association, Susan, is giving campaign contributions, nearly $20,000 so far, to Steve Marshall, and we've got hospitals closing. And if you tear this apart, more hospitals will close. There'll be chaos. And I sent a text message to Dane Howard, who leads that association. I said, how is it that the Hospital Association of Alabama supports a candidate who is getting ready to gut pre-existing conditions in health insurance?
And she didn't reply. But listen, I mean, let's just get down to brass tacks here. We've already got rural hospitals closing, understaffed, drowning because of the lack of expansion of Medicaid. You add this onto it, where you've got another 1 million people in the state of Alabama without health insurance for their pre-existing conditions. What do you think is going to happen? Even those people, even if they don't have health insurance, they have to go to the hospitals. They have to treat them in the hospitals.
I mean, really, how much have we regressed as a nation to be back at the point where we can just look at someone and say, you don't deserve health care? I will never be able to, I never understand
that. And here's the thing that people don't get. Just because the insurance company says you don't deserve insurance, doesn't mean that when that person goes to an ER, that ER is required to treat them. They can't turn them away, which causes the cost of the hospitals to go up, which causes the rest of the insurance costs. It's a cycle, folks.
It is a cycle. I want to move on to one of my favorite stories of the year so far. The Alabama Department of Education, under Michael's sentence, hired a man, Jason Taylor. They gave him a contract, Jack, for $700,000 for 3 years to enter
Fix Montgomery Public Schools.
Yeah, fix Montgomery Public Schools. We only got 55 minutes. He's gone missing, but he's still getting his $95,000.
$19,000
a month check.
Paycheck.
Yeah.
Nobody knows where the hell he is.
Yeah. He hasn't been in the office lately.
This is a Where's Waldo kind of deal. It's ridiculous. I mean, I met Sentence and I kind of liked him.
Yeah.
And then I found out all this backroom stuff was going on and how he was not nice to any of his employees. He brought in his favorite little team of people that no one had ever heard of.
Yeah.
And I think Jason Taylor, where had he been? Huntsville before?
Yeah.
We moved him down here.
And he's stealing from us, basically.
Well, let me just say, MPS right now is in shambles. It's in literal shambles. Actually, in the schools and financially.
Well, we have gone in there, some city leaders and up and coming folks, and elected some whole new school board.
My point is, we just need someone there now. Someone who shows
he's probably part of the problem right here. We don't know where our folks
leave
are.
It right there, $700,000, and the guy is not showing up for work. Anyway, you've been watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.